Hello everyone! I am your teacher Isa. Today, we will have our discussion all about multi-cropping system. Do you have any idea about multi-cropping system? Imagine a farming method that maximizes land use, boosts crop yield, and reduces rest. That's the power of multi-cropping system, growing or two or more crops on the same land in a single growing season. It's a sustainable agriculture practice that not only increases food production but also improves soil health and resource efficiency. So now, let's explore how multi-cropping can transform agriculture and contribute to food security.
Before we start our discussion, so let's play a game. The game will be called 4 Peaks, 1 Word. Are you familiar with this game? So let's start. Agriculture. Farmer. Crops. Rotations. Multi-cropping. Based on the game, so what will be our possible topic for today? So it's about multi-cropping system. Let us first read the learning objectives. So at the end of the lesson, 90% of TLE students will be able to identify the types and principle of multi-cropping, demonstrate a plan and create a home-based garden applying the multi-cropping principle and good crop combination. And last, value and appreciate the benefits of multi-cropping. So, are we positive to achieve all those learning objectives? Okay, so now let's start our discussion. In agriculture, multi-cropping or multiple cropping is the practice of growing 2 or more crops in the same farmland. It is a form of polyculture. Polyculture refers to the practice of growing mixture of different crops together in order to enhance productivity, reduce the need of chemical fertilizer, and provide natural protection against disease and pest. Instead of growing one crop in a field, we grow 2 or more than 2 crops in the field in the same season. This cropping system helps farmers to double their crop productivity and their income. But the selection of 2 or more crops for practicing multi-cropping mainly depends on the mutual benefits of the selected crops. Multi-cropping is always most common in a small fields where the intention is simply feed the family or even the community that works on the farm and also trade some of crops outside. Besides that, you also need to be aware that multiple cropping systems are not a new method in a farm since it has been in use ever since. It has been used in Indonesia, Egypt, Incas in South America, Maya Indians Central America, and it was practiced on Garhwal Himalaya of India. The practice called Baranaha. It involves sowing 12 or more crops on the same plot. So now, let's move on to the different types of multi-cropping system. So the different types of multi-cropping system are sequential cropping, intercropping, and multi-storage cropping. Sequential cropping. Sequential cropping is growing 2 or more crops in a sequence on the same field per year. Crop intensification is only in the time dimensions. There is no intercrop competition since farmers manage only one crop at a time. Types of sequential cropping. These are double cropping. It's a growing 2 crops in a year. Triple cropping. It's a growing 3 crops in a year. It is possible when irrigation facilities are available throughout the year, so the irrigation is man control. While in quadruple cropping, it's growing 4 crops in a year. It is possible under irrigated conditions throughout the year. In quadruple cropping, the water supply is consistent. And lastly, ratoon cropping or stumble. Cultivation stumble regrowth after crop harvest. Ratooning is one of the important systems of intensive cropping, which implies more than one harvest from sowing or planting. Next type of multi-cropping system is intercropping. Intercropping is growing 2 or more crops simultaneously on the same field per year. The main objective of the intercropping is to utilize the space left between 2 rows or main crops and to produce more grain per unit area. Intercropping was originally practiced as insurance against crop failure under rain-fed condition. Farmers manage more than one crop at a time in the same field. One of the types of intercropping is mixed intercropping. Mixed intercropping is growing 2 or more crops simultaneously with no distinct row arrangement. Next, row intercropping. Row intercropping is a growing 2 or more crops simultaneously with 1 or more crops planted in a rows. Next, strip intercropping. Strip intercropping is a growing 2 or more crops simultaneously in different strips wide enough to permit independent cultivation but narrow enough for the crops to interact agronomically. Relay intercropping or overlapping cropping. It's a growing 2 or more crops simultaneously during part of each one's life. A second crop is planted after the first crop has reached its reproductive stage of growth, but before it is ready for harvest. Last type of intercropping is alley intercropping. Alley intercropping is planting rows of trees at wide spacing with a companion crop grown in the alley's ways between rows. The main objectives of planting trees or shrubs in between are to improve farm income, crop production, and the protection of crops. The last type of multi-cropping system is multi-storage cropping. In this system, the crops of different heights and vertical layers of leaf canopies, sunlight requirements, and root system are grown together in the same field at the same time. In generally, the shorter crops favoring shade and humidity are grown in the passageway between the rows of taller crops, which are tolerant to strong sunlight. It is mostly practiced on orchards and plantation crops. Now, let's move on to the principle of multi-cropping. Have a vegetable garden following the principle of multi-cropping. It requires certain conditions to be successful in multi-cropping. Firstly, sufficient land space. Sufficient land space is needed to accommodate multiple crops in the same field. Secondly, proper crop selection is crucial. You need to consider the factors like compatibility, growth habits, and nutrients requirements. Next, adequate knowledge of crop rotation. Intercropping techniques and appropriate planting schedule is also essentials. And lastly, access to adequate water supply, nutrients management, and pest control are very important to meet the needs of multiple crops and ensures their healthy growth. Next, adequate knowledge of crop rotation. Intercropping techniques and appropriate planting schedule is very essential in multi-cropping system. Lastly, access to adequate water supply, nutrients management, and pest control is very important to meet the needs of multiple crops and ensure their healthy growth. By meeting these requirements or the principle of multi-cropping, farmers can now optimize productivity and reap its benefits. The selection of crops for multi-cropping depends on these factors: prevailing farm condition, crop of varietal adaptability, marketability and profitability, resistant to pests and diseases, growth duration, water requirements, nutrients requirements, tradition and knowledge, and lastly, climate. These are some examples of good crop combination. These are sweet potato and corn. Sweet potatoes can be planted in the spaces between corn rows. This combination utilizes vertical and horizontal space efficiently while providing different harvest time. This is the good crop combination that we can see in our places. Next, tomatoes and onions. Growing tomatoes alongside onions can help deter pests and optimize land use, as both crops have different growth habits and requirements. Lastly, the benefits of multi-cropping. Example of multi-cropping, rotations and intercropping from around the world provide evidence of positive synergies that can be harnessed. Benefits include better soil fertility through nitrogen fixation when legumes are added, improve crop health, reduce weed infestation such as through the suppression of striga in maize soybean system, and production of additional biomass that can be used for grazing and forage. The overall cost of input decreases and the cost spent on fertilizer, irrigation, labor, etc. reduces because of growing two or more crops in the same field. Adapting the practice of multi-cropping on a large scale can help in reducing the food crisis of a country. The benefits of multi-cropping result in better farm management and increased income for the farmers. And now, end of our discussion about the multi-cropping system. Questions and clarifications? And for your assignment, do a research about good crop combination for multi-cropping that is helpful for creating a home-based garden. The criteria for home-based garden making are site and layout for diversity, which is 20 points, multi-cropping in practice, which is 30 points, companion planting and compatibility, which is 30 points, and foundational sustainability, which is 20 points. Total points of 100. For your assessment, grab a 1/4 sheet of paper and get ready to put your thinking cap on. Choose the best answer for each questions. That's all for today. Thank you and God bless.